Welcome to the Not Snowboarding Podcast, a delightfully tasteful glimpse into the other side of snowboarding.
Welcome to the Not Snowboarding Podcast, episode number 5. I'm your host, Mittermüller. If you're listening to this podcast near the time of its release, it should be right around Thanksgiving time or the week thereof. And I'm reminded of a Thanksgiving dinner at my house sometime in my teens when my father asked us to go around the table and say what we were thankful for right before we ate. My brother said the usual stuff that you'd often hear at these types of moments: family, security, food, God, and then came my turn. I proudly said, snowboarding. And that was it. Silence. Finally, my father says, and? At this time, my mom is looking across the table at me with a look that so clearly said, just fucking say family, because I don't want this to explode into another father-son battle before we even get to eat. I had been pushing the boundaries of my relationship with my parents, and especially butting heads with my father, as many boys do around their teenage years. Seeing my father's face start to tense, and sensing that I'd better say something quick, or else Thanksgiving dinner was going to turn into World War III, I confidently said, skateboarding. My dad's posture stiffened, and my mom shot both him and I a look that said, pull it together for me. Both of my little brothers giggled, and with the excitement of knowing that I was going to get in major trouble. In just the nick of time, I tacked on, in a very depressed tone, and family, and the situation was diffused. Today I'm thankful that I got to go snowboarding yesterday at a resort called Big Boulder in Pennsylvania. I'm thankful that Ted and the rest of the park crew were able to put together a really fun setup so early in the season. And I'm thankful for the friends that I got to ride with, many of whom I have not seen since the spring. I'm thankful for my neighbor and co-pilot on the trip, Peyton Brockhoft, even though he fell asleep almost immediately on the 3-hour drive home. Sure, I've grown since that Thanksgiving dinner. I'm now thankful for everything, everyone, and every second. But if I had to place values on any particular activities, snowboarding and skateboarding would still top the list. And pissing off my dad would still be on there too, just a little farther down. Today's episode is with German pro snowboarder Silvia Mittermüller. Silvia and I have a ton in common outside of snowboarding. We discuss everything from river surfing to ending world hunger, and we delve very deeply into diet and genetically modified organisms, a topic that Silvia is very passionate about. Let's jump into the interview.
My name is Silvia Mittermüller, but you can, however you say it, it's been butchered in very many ways. I'm quite insensitive towards it. It doesn't matter.
I'm glad. I'm the same way. My last name, my family actually decided to pronounce it differently for some reason, just 2 generations back. So everyone else says Mussin, and that's correct.
Yeah.
But we decided at some point, my great-grandfather, I suppose, said, no, we are Musan. So it's been torture for me my whole life.
Yeah. Little problems. You know, the funny thing, like with names, just when you say that, what I think of is sometimes on the start list for competitions, they put the pronunciation of your name next to the name. And they write it down as you say it. It's so funny when you read those. It's so funny.
I have a guy who was so mad at me when I was very young. I worked for the USASA. It's like an amateur competition for snowboarding here. And I really wanted to work on the park side. And, you know, I really wanted to judge and compete. Yep. And I ended up doing the announcing for names for Slalom.
Nice.
The guy's name, he's gone on to do quite a few things. I think he was even involved in the Olympics, but through USASA, he went on to be involved in that industry, and it's Bill Van.
Wait, but sorry to interrupt. It's not the speaker from the Olympics, the first one, that horrible one that was always talking about big spins and big rotations.
No, that was painful. We had to put it on mute. I remember that.
It was not I had to swap to a different country, but that's not your friend, right?
No. And he actually, I don't think he's my friend because I pissed him off so bad because I mispronounced his name. He was doing Slalom, and I was like 17 years old, so I wasn't excited about Slalom. You know, I wanted to be in the park, and so his name was Bill Van Gilder, and I just said Bill Glider. And I came from a small town in Montana, so I didn't have an exposure to a wide variety of names.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know I was mispronouncing it, but he thought I was, for some reason, that I was making fun of him or something, so he was pissed.
Aye.
But yeah, now he's like, he's on the Olympic committee. He was up in, doing all the talks with the ski committee and everything. So he's one of those people who's on the line with all of that International Ski Federation stuff. I would love to reconnect with him. I'm sure he's not still mad.
Do you think he still remembers?
He might. I don't know. I screwed it up pretty good. I remember he was not happy.
Aye.
So I'm so excited to talk with you, and just so you know, we've been recording, and we'll
all right.
probably go ahead.
So now you have a story about slalom in the interview, but that's good because I don't have much slalom stories myself, except I drove once a race boat, a jet boat in the slalom course for the high fives in New Zealand because you always get weird side activity challenges. So my only slalom I can think of personally is in a jet boat in New Zealand in the river around some buoys.
Well, that's good because that's better than what you think of in snowboarding with slalom. Is I think that people in snowboarding get scared because it's such a traditional skiing thing.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, that's not snowboarding, but it is. It's fun. I get it. And the good thing for me, going back to that story, was it was either announce the names or go warm the racers up by hand. So like rub their legs.
Oh,
no!
Oh, God.
So I definitely, even though I didn't want to announce the names, I was like, well, that's better than rubbing all these guys down.
Could you be rubbing girls' legs?
I don't think there was a single girl. This was in 1995 at a small mountain in Pennsylvania.
That's even before I started snowboarding. But slalom, I have to say, I come from a big slalom country. We have a very strong alpine snowboarding scene in Germany that also, well, I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but let's just put it this way. Our federation is very supportive of alpine snowboarding, and we do have some very successful alpine snowboarders as well. One of them, who is actually, I think, still current world champion, Bella Labec, she's like one of those real hard boot racer board snowboard girls, and still up to now I've never in my life ridden a race board, and we still have this plan that one day we need to swap. But I've never been on a race board. I really want to try it sometime because I think it's quite insane to be with 45-degree angles and on that skinny thing. Like I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, I've done it once, and it was very, very fun, but it was challenging because I had to find somebody with the same boot size as me for the hard boots, and that's kind of a road that I wasn't willing to go down just to try it out, is to invest in a pair of ski boots basically. So I had one opportunity, and it was at a small mountain in southern Pennsylvania. And it was really fun, but I think it would be much more fun on a bigger mountain where you can really get up to speed.
Yeah. Oh, well. Next time I see Bella, maybe, who knows, maybe at World Champs this year. Because I'm sure she's probably already qualified. I luckily qualified with my Australia result, so we'll be together at the same thing in January in Austria, and maybe that time I'll steal her board, because actually we're lucky to have the same size, so I can even take her boots.
You guys could swap and not tell anybody.
Yeah.
For the competition. You can compete as her and she can compete as you.
No, I don't think she wants to put that on the line, her world championship title, to have someone like me race on a slalom that has never raced a race board. I think it's a bad trade.
You never know. Maybe you could do it switch.
But then it's a good trade because probably no matter what the conditions are, I'm going to for sure survive the competition. Whereas if she has to hit like sketchy big jumps, if they build some Sochi 2 course, I think she's in a scarier position there if we trade.
Sochi 2, let's hope not. So you do so many things that I am so psyched on, and when I started this podcast a while ago, you were like #1 on the list of people I wanted to talk to, because you're surfing in rivers.
Mostly rivers. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I have tried in the ocean many, many times. I've even spent a whole month in Costa Rica, and I still have to admit that my real real surfing is nothing I'm very proud of. I keep trying, but river I feel a lot more home in.
So I have questions about river surfing. What do you think is the issue with the ocean? Is it the paddle out that gives you the trouble?
See, for me, I like to compare ocean surfing and river surfing to backcountry snowboarding and park snowboarding, because in the backcountry you have to work a lot harder to get a good run, a good line. You might even have to hike. You really have to know the conditions. It can be dangerous, avalanches, all of that. And that's ocean surfing to me. There's so many factors that come together. You have to be the right place, the right time, and know the ocean, work for it, and maybe you get the wave. Whereas park snowboarding, you pop up, you have a park, and it's up to you to keep trying until you can do it. And it's just sitting there all day long, the same jumps. And it's the same with the river wave. You just go to the wave, and sure, at first you have to figure out how to get into it, how to do a drop in, or how to do a takeoff in that thing. But once you get up, you can surf the wave as long as you're able to surf it. Like, it's never going to end. Whereas, the real ocean, those waves have an end. So
what are the logistics at your local wave? Are you doing like an acid drop into it and standing up right into the wave,
both,
or
either
paddling?
like there's like a lot of different ways. Like, it's just that little wave, but the first time you go in, you paddle into it from the front, and if you paddle against the current, it's gonna not wash you through the wave. So you just stay in it, and you're on your stomach, and eventually do a takeoff. And the other way is you just run. Like, once you get out of the wave, it's a little stone wall on the side of it, and you have to still transfer a little bit of a distance. So you just run and do a drop in, like just throw your board in and pop on it.
So
And
one of the things I really wonder about is the wave's basically formed by a rock, and there's got to be more rocks past the wave once you're done. However you exit, if it's me, it's probably falling over the top. But isn't your board more likely to get dinged easily?
Oh yeah. That's why. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you've seen that Instagram it's a little while back. Like, some friend was making fun of me because I posted some picture of my board with a cat on it, because it was a really cool cat, and he's like, "Oh, duct tape." Because my whole, like, we tape our boards on all the sides with tape, like numerous layers of tape. And well, my original tape job was just gray duct tape, so it looks really not flattering on a nice surfboard. So I've been laughed at by people that don't know, but yeah, you're right. It's a lot easier to break your board and like hit your board on the rocks, like getting in, getting out, everything. So I mean, it's just a couple layers of tape, but it definitely helps at least a little bit.
So is there a surf shop in Munich?
Oh yeah, there is a couple actually. With the river waves getting more and more popular, there's a couple surf shops, and it's more and more people trying it out too, because it's such a sick activity. I mean, you don't have to pay for it. It's there all year long, and all day, all night. All it takes is just a surfboard and maybe a wetsuit if you're scared of cold.
I wonder if are you familiar with LibTech surfboards at all?
I've never surfed one. No, I know they exist, but I don't know much about it.
So theirs are really, really hard to ding and almost impossible.
Is it epoxy?
No, the LibTech, they're so, I'll watch my words here in case anyone from LibTech is listening, but they're so different would be the best way to put it. But I have two of them actually. And you can ride a road bike over them. You can do anything that would, oh my gosh. Yeah. Check them out on the website.
There is some boards, like I have, it's a pretty shitty surf. Like, I would say it's not a cool surfboard company by any means. Big, big boards.
Yeah, that's the first board I ever caught a wave on was a big.
See. So I got a big board. I mean, I got one, the smallest one they make, it's a 510, because for the river waves, it's nice to have a smaller board. So I got the smallest big board they have, and that's what I first learned with, because that thing's indestructible. I mean, seriously, I keep telling my friends that I help to learn to surf in the river now. I always put them on that shitty big board, and I tell them, don't worry, if it hits the walls, it's fine. If it's like about to hit the wall super hard, just lay back and enjoy, because it's not going to be broken. It really doesn't matter. But those boards, they only come in 510, not any shorter, and that's just not that fun at a certain stage of ability anymore, because it's not very reactive, and you can't really like get to the next level of surfing with that. So I invested a little bit of my Planet Sports team budget into actually specific river surfboard. There's a couple companies that make some that also have cores that are more stable. For example, my board now, it has a core that's supposed to not soak up the water as fast. And for what I can tell, I think it works, but I haven't had like major damage to it yet, so
just keep
I
some
can't
just
exactly
keep,
say.
keep some
but
duct tape handy, and it'll be fine either way.
yeah, but that one, that board, it's a 5.5. So if I went with that in the real ocean, I don't think I'd catch too much. But in the river, I'm extremely happy.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned Bic, because when I first started surfing, I was actually at a friend's wedding in North Carolina, and everybody there surfed. So I tried it, and they kept on saying Bic, yeah, try the Bic, give the Bic to Nate, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are they talking about? That's like a cigarette lighter company.
Yeah, it is. It
It
is.
didn't make any sense to me that they made cigarette lighters and surfboards.
Yep. It doesn't make any sense, but the surfboards are about as stable as the lighters. I mean, they're indestructible. But then, like, it's just big board makes me think of like funny little jokes, because those boards, they're just like the typical super beginner board, and there's nothing wrong with being a beginner, but sometimes when the wave got super crowded this summer, we were joking around with friends like how at this different wave, like half across the entire town, they have free beers, and if you go there you get free beers, and if you bring a big board you even get 2 free beers. Just like kind of trying to create rumors so people would leave and go somewhere far away.
I know
Like,
all about those sort of jokes.
yeah, it was funny, but because we do have three surfable river waves in Munich, so the one I go to, it's my personal favorite, but there is 2 more.
And does it vary with different water levels? It's
Oh
like
yeah,
one is on.
one of them is extremely shitty by now. It used to be pretty good, but it's only running very, very occasionally. And then the 2 major ones is the one that I go to, and the other one is actually the super world famous, crazy, most photographed Eisbach wave at the front by the museum. That one I think has been surfed since over 40 years or something, forever. But that one has like huge rocks behind the wave that are, well, not even that huge, but they're just really sketchy. If you get sucked under the wave, if you fall stupid and you don't fall flat enough, you can hit them and actually get really hurt. Like, there has definitely been broken bones and concussed people. And once I hit it with my shin through a 5mm suit, and I was still bleeding. So they're kind of nasty rocks, and I only go to that wave if I'm really feeling on it, because I don't want to go there and not really be present, get hurt, and then I can't snowboard for the next 2 months because I went surf on the sketchier wave.
That's tough. I completely understand that. It's always a balance, right? And you're thinking kind of like about, hey, this is my bread and butter activity, but this thing over here is really fun too. Would you say that when you look at everything that you do, is there one that you're just more passionate about than that it's not necessarily snowboarding potentially?
Well, I do have to say that this summer I've gotten really, really deep into this whole surfing, river surfing thing, and like especially like getting finally like a really specific river surfboard. It's just been so much fun, and after doing that a lot, I have to say that skateboarding felt different, snowboarding felt different. I just had a different board feeling. So probably my most recent huge passion is probably the river surfing.
Yeah, for me, I would love to have a river wave close enough to where I could be where you are with it. But I've heard
See,
there's...
that's like something with this river wave stuff. Like, I've been so happy about doing that I've already tried to talk my brother, who is a crazy physics kind of guy. Gonna try to talk my brother into it to make some kind of project together to create river waves all over the world. Just like learn the physics and go to whatever poor countries and propose that we will build them a river wave. La 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 la. It would be so cool to like travel the world and give random countries and cities waves. It would be awesome.
I've thought of exactly that. So we have rivers and streams near where I live, and it's like I just need to get the right rocks in here at the right angle, built up the right way to create a wave, and then I don't have to drive 3.5 hours to get to the beach to sit out there and maybe catch a wave, like you said.
I'll tell you, when my brother and when I convince him to leave his normal job and do this project with me, and when we're good at it, I'll give you a call back and I'll make you a river wave.
That would be awesome. I will take you up on that.
Okay.
So besides river surfing, you do so many other things, like I was saying before, that I'm super interested in, and all the different reasons why I wanted to talk with you. You're a vegetarian, you're a skateboarder, you're a chess player, you're a swimmer, and obviously ultra competitive. You've been on the podium at every event in snowboarding, from the U.S. Open to the European Open, all the other Opens, the Dew Tour, and what have you. And we've kind of been friends, as you mentioned, on Instagram for a while, and it's kind of like a recurring theme on the podcast is that it's so funny and so cool. I guess it's just kind of the way it is in this day and age, that you can be friends with somebody sort of on the internet and never really having spoken with them. So what I wanted to talk to you today about is kind of how all those things tie together. And I guess maybe a good spot to start would be your transition into snowboarding. I know at a certain point, a skateboard caught your attention. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. I have to first give you a little compliment. You're really good. You know a lot about me, way more than I would think you could know by just Instagram photos. But to answer the question, yes, for me, the story in a nutshell is that I was had 110% girl my whole young kid life. I was doing ballet, I was riding horses, I was playing piano, pretty good at school, all of that. And sometime in puberty, I just could not deal with it anymore. I had to somehow get out of it. And my way out was, getting a skateboard, which felt like the most illegal thing I've ever done in my little kid's life, like to go into a skate shop and actually get a skateboard as a girl that doesn't do those kind of things. But that skateboard is probably the moment where, my whole life took a different direction. And
what
from
was
skateboarding,
what was it like? What was it like walking into the shop? And the reason I ask is because I remember, and obviously not a girl, but I remember going into the shop with my mom, who was a little bit more conservative, and she just didn't want to be in there. It was like a bad place. And looking up at the wall and seeing like the Mark Gonzalez board and the Steve Caballero board with the dragon.
I didn't even tell my parents. I mean, I was already 13 years old, and I was in that stage where I was just trying to do my own thing, and I'd always been fantasizing how cool it would be to have a skateboard. And, I was doing my homework, I'm looking outside to the street, and I'm just thinking, if I had a skateboard, I could just go out there in the street and skate around, and it would be so cool. And sometime, I just figured out where the skate shop was. I also knew it because I had this kind of kiddie boyfriend situation with a guy that was skateboarding. So I just went there, and I actually went there alone. And I felt just so weird because I was not a cool girl. Like, what am I doing in this skate shop? And I didn't know much about it. And I just looked at all the decks, and sure enough, I picked a girl skateboard. It was at, I think, Chad Muska back then. And it had that girl on it on the bottom of the deck. And I guess as a little girl finding a skateboard, when there was a girl on it, it just made sense. So that's what I got and had it for a long time.
So was that girl Rosa? I didn't remember her being on a Chad Muska bar. I don't remember a Muska.
No. It's just the little, the girl, the little character, like the girl sign type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's just that. It was just that on it.
Very cool. And that led you into how long of skateboarding before a snowboard came on your radar?
About a good summer, like whole spring, summer time. And then when the winter came around, I had a chance to try snowboarding, which was mostly because my parents wanted to try it. And to me, I didn't even know yet if I thought snowboarding was cool, because all the guys at the skate park were not thinking snowboarding was that cool. And I wasn't thinking it was that cool because you have the bindings, and that's it's a little cheating. Anyways, they tried it. So I thought, all right, I'll try it too. And we went with the worst rental equipment you could ever get for money somewhere on the side of the road and looked for some slight hill and just hiked up there, strapped in our shitty equipment and tried to snowboard. There was no teacher, there was no lifts, no instruction, just a family of, my brother, my parents, and I with shitty equipment, having no clue what we're doing. So it took a little while to figure it out.
This is outside of München or right in town somewhere?
No, that was a little bit outside of Munich. Yeah, just a little. So, and we kept doing that just a little bit. And then I remember the first day to really try on like a mountain with lifts and slopes. I went with a friend of mine, and she was about to tell me a little bit how to fall. And I was like, nah, I don't need this. I got my roadside experience. I'm good. So I sure enough fell and broke my wrist. Pretty much my first day of real ski resort snowboarding of all times. So it was not an easy start for me. I was not made for board sports.
I think
Same thing with skateboarding. Shit, my feet, they still don't do flip tricks. Like, I do love to skate a little bit of mini ramp and that stuff, but my feet, you would think ballerina feet can do good skate tricks, but no, they just don't get it. I was not made for any type of board sports, and that might have just fired up the wish to conquer them even more.
exactly. Sometimes when somebody tells you no, that's all it takes for you to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to prove you otherwise.
Exactly.
So you're just
But
fighting,
also,
you're fighting your body.
even if it's life telling you no, by breaking my wrist the first day, by not making me understand kickflips my entire life, like it's not even someone else. It's just life that says, haha, not you. And then you say, haha, just wait. Give me another 10 years. Maybe I'll figure it out.
Have you landed one?
Kickflips?
Yeah.
No, they don't do it. They just don't do it, my feet. It sucks.
You have to do what's called like a mob flip and hang your toe very close to the end. I'm sure you've tried everything.
Oh, I've tried so many ways. Like, sometimes I can do the rotation too, but it would not stay under my body. And like, I don't know. I just gave up at some stage. I'm glad like I can do ollies. I'm glad I can do little pop shovels and stuff like that. But just kickflips, they don't do it.
It's a numbers game at some point. If you put that thing to it like it was a goal, like almost the same way. And another thing that you probably think is weird that I know, because all this information was out there on the internet, but almost like what you've done at the Breckenridge pool, right? Just like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and it's just like, sit down.
You mean with the mileage swimming?
Yeah, exactly. I'm blown away by that. 200 miles, is that right?
Yeah, actually, right now I just looked at my mileage yesterday because I swam yesterday. I'm like at 2/3 to my 250, so I'm like 230 something miles right now, I think.
What are the logistics behind that? Is there somebody there counting for you?
Nah, you have to count yourself, but there's the lifeguards and they see you come swimming. Like, you have little papers, and on those papers you record the day and your mileage, and you like sign it or have it signed by a lifeguard. And I mean, they see you coming in. So if I come in and I swim and then I mark, 3 miles, but I was in the water for 10 minutes, that's obviously bullshit. And I don't know if anyone would do it. I know for myself that I don't do it because, I mean, in the end, what do I really get from it? Come on, there is some number with my name on a wall. Like, it's not really worth cheating. Like, I'm so excited about it just because it's real. And it's crazy to me if I look at that 25-yard pool and I think, oh wow, I swam from here to Denver airport in this pool. Weird. That's kind of cool, actually.
You just reminded me of a time that I cheated as a kid. There was a program in the States called Book It, and it was an incentive from Pizza Hut, the restaurant, to get kids to read. And depending on how many pages you would read, you would get a free personal-sized pizza. And what I would do is take all these books from my parents' bookshelf and take them up into my room and then just turn on music and listen to music and look at like snowboard and skateboard magazines, and then come back downstairs hours later and said, oh yeah, I read all these pages, and my parents would sign off on it and I would get the free pizzas.
Wow, well, that's really smart. That's okay.
That's horrible.
That's
now
okay.
I feel bad.
You were just smart, and your parents were buying your theater, so I guess you were good at what you were doing. And if you're good at what you're doing, then you sometimes get something for it, I guess.
So how did you get into the swimming at the Breck pool? Was that just like, hey, I've got to do that? Were you already a swimmer? Was it part of a rehab?
Swimming is actually, it's funny you asked me this because it just goes in one line with snowboarding and skateboarding. Because my first swimming experiences back in elementary school, I actually was the slowest swimmer out of my entire class. Like, I was even slower and shittier than the fat kids. And that was really hard for me because, I mean, I was a ballerina and I was athletic. Come on, like, how can I be such a horrible swimmer? It was embarrassing. So I kind of decided for myself that I want to be a better swimmer. And I don't know, I guess I just started swimming, and then I kind of got it and I got better at it, and then I enjoyed it. And by now it's something in between meditation and a workout and a recovery activity for me, because it just, like, being in the water, you don't hear any sounds, you're not talking to anyone. Like, after a little while you just get into some kind of trancey stage where your mind just travels off and shuts off or thinks like outside the usual patterns and just feels really good.
Yeah.
I love swimming.
Very similar to a runner's high, I guess, a swimmer's high.
Yeah, it's just way more comfortable. You're in water. And like, also it's something funny, but in my dreams, I used to fly a lot in my dreams. And when I fly, it's kind of like I swim. So like I remember many times in my dreams, like sometimes flying is a bit harder, but I always do swimming motions in the air. So in some way, I guess swimming is the closest I can feel to flying just with my own body in real world.
Yeah, I mean, you're just flying through a different fluid. Air is technically a fluid. And it's very interesting to me that you say it's meditative. Do you meditate?
See, that's the question of your definition of meditation, because I can't do I'm sitting down in a lotus seat and I'm not going to move anymore, close my eyes and do this for an hour type of meditation. That's just not my thing. I can't just not do anything. But I feel a lot of meditation in many of the activities I do, whether, it's swimming or it's biking or it's even snowboarding, like going to the gym, like even doing heavy workouts can be quite meditative to me, because I listen to music and I'm just shut off from the rest of the world and I fall into some kind of zone that, yeah, it's just that type of meditative trancy zone where, yeah, you're just somewhere else. And I do think that it's somewhat comparable to common meditation. As long as your brain shuts off its usual mechanisms, I think you could say this is meditation. So
yeah,
if you say that sports can be meditation, yes, I do meditate a shitload. But if meditation is sitting, not doing anything, no, I don't.
I think that that active type of meditation is you're falling into the zone, right? Where everything falls into place naturally, where it's, I don't have to think about how I'm going to hit that jump. I don't have to think about my next stroke in the pool. I don't have to think about how I'm going to flip the board as I'm doing a kickflip. Maybe you do.
yeah. No,
but it just happens.
Trying kickflips is no meditation for me. No, not that, unfortunately.
It's interesting that you equate a lot of the swimming to meditation, because something that I'm infatuated with, and I do sit and meditate, not enough, because it's a challenge, right? Your body is active, it wants to move, and then it's a time commitment. Like, why am I going to waste time in my week in my life just sitting? But there is a difference. I don't know if you've ever done yoga, but at the end of many yoga practices, it's corpse pose, right? For however long. And that is one of the quickest, deepest meditations that you can slip into very easily. But back to the swimming and meditation and being in the water, one of the things that I'm really infatuated with that a lot of people are doing now, and these places are popping up all over the place, and one of the other podcasters that I listen to quite a bit, Joe Rogan, talks about it all the time, are these float centers where you actually go in this box.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and you float in salt water and there's no noise and it's room temperature and you're just in there floating and dark, and all of a sudden you're separated from your body. All you have as far as sensories is your awareness of your consciousness, right?
That's I've heard of those. I've never tried that, but maybe in some way, as we said before, there's that type of sit down, do nothing meditation versus the moving meditation. And so, in some way, maybe the active version of that is just swimming. Like, the thing is, if you have good swimming technique and you do it for a while, like I don't instantly fall into that place when I swim, but maybe after my first, half kilometer or after 1 kilometer or so, that's when I get there. And then just it goes. And especially I don't do turns really where I go, fully with my head out the water. I just swim continuously the whole time and do flip turns. And sure, you're active, but you're actively floating as well in some way. So I mean, I'm sure it's the other one. It's different, but at the same time, I mean, it's both being in water. And I have some thoughts, why maybe with the water, like. Have you read Masuro Emoto, Hidden Messages in Water, by chance?
No, I have not. Sounds interesting, though.
Great book. And it's too much to tell the entire book right now. And it's kind of wild when you read it, because you pretty much, short version of it is that he takes photographs of snowflakes, like crystallizing water, like the type of flakes it forms, depending on what type of energies you give the water, what music you play it, what you tell the water, just all kind of impact on the water and how that reflects in the moment when they create crystals. And it's really crazy to see those pictures, how different different energies you give to the water shapes different crystals. And if you think about it, then that the human body is made of, almost 80% of water, or even more, I think almost 80% of water. If you how you can just interact with that and change that, and if you go, as one body of water into an even bigger body of water, such as a swimming pool, I have a bunch of theories, but that explodes your podcast. That might be a different one another time.
No, I'm totally into it. And I can't agree with you more. Since I've been surfing over the past 4 years, there have been 5 or 6 days that I've gone out and not even caught a wave. I shouldn't even have gone by the surf report, but it was like, I just want to go out there and sit in the water all day, because when I'm done, I'm different. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm definitely more connected to the world.
Completely agree. Like, I go that far. This is, sometimes I say that I make my life, like, I like to see my life through the fairy tale glasses. Like, not even glasses. It's just creating your own reality by your own beliefs and just how you like to see your world. In some way, you choose your own truth and your own worldview. And I like to see things as a fairy tale a little bit here and there. And something I imagine or believe to notice is when I go swimming, for example, it depends like what time of the day you go swim and what water. Like, every pool water, it feels different. And for example, here at Breck, this sounds ridiculous. I can't believe I'm saying this on the webcast shit. But if I go early in the morning and there hasn't been many people in the water yet, it feels a different type of cleansing and balancing as it feels when I go at like 6 at night or even 7, when all those people that come off work and they have all those emotions and energies and maybe anger, and they all go swim, and then the water, it feels different to me. Like, if I leave after a 2-kilometer swim in the early morning, I usually get a different type of post-swimming feeling than at 6 or 7 at night. And as crazy as it sounds, I think that's also in the water.
It's not crazy. I actually, as a kid, I worked at a pool. I was a lifeguard and also the janitor. And at night, when that water was so still, I was always compelled to jump in, because it just looked so much more inviting. So it's almost like when you're out surfing in the ocean, a clean day versus a choppy day. We'll still go if it's choppy, but the energy's bad. I mean, you're out there struggling for your life. You're getting beat around from every direction. When it's just you and just your wake in the water, that's just your energy that you're putting out there. So I don't think it's crazy to say that at all. I totally agree.
It's lots of thoughts, but I can only recommend to read that book too, because it's definitely a little different, but when you read it, a lot of it makes sense, and it's just pretty cool to think about that and read that.
Yeah, I think about a year ago, there was a video going around on Facebook that must have related to that book, because I remember it basically being about the different people creating different snowflakes under the same environment.
Yeah, that must be it then. It's probably from the same guy.
So at what point did you become interested in eating vegetables? How did that occur?
Good point. Well, I mean, I come from Germany. It's a country of meat and potatoes. And I didn't think of that stuff too much until I got more independent and traveled more with snowboarding all over the world. And it just happened that actually together with the time that I saw that Monsanto movie, there was a movie, I think it was like 2007, where I more or less accidentally bumped into this movie. It was on like a French-German crossover television station. It's called The World According to Monsanto, which just blew my mind. I knew a little bit about genetic modification before that, but really getting the whole package of information, what's going on and has been going on, especially in the US, it just really blew my mind and completely changed the way I looked at food and how I picked what I like to eat. And together with that happening and me getting extremely sensitive towards GMOs, I looked into all other type of eating habits as well. And I mean, one of those genetic modification products, they're making and using all over the US is also that growth hormone stuff that goes into the dairy cow production. And I mean, it's just, that's just the genetically modified thing they inject into the cows to produce more milk that actually causes infertility and lots of other problems. But just looking into my habits more and more from that corner, I realized how I just don't want to support industrial animal product production of pretty much any kind, because it's just all, sorry to say, fucked up. I mean, for people that care so much about their cats and dogs and other pets, I just cannot believe how it's possible to have a animal production economy that like does what it does, and people choose to stay ignorant and not acknowledge that. It's just crazy to me. And I feel when you're at a stage where you really realize what's going on and you see that, you inform yourself, you understand it, you can't go back to being ignorant. I mean, when you know, and I just came to that point where I understood, and it was a clear case that I didn't want to support that. I didn't want to eat that. I didn't want to rebuild my own body of that sad animal that's been living its entire tiny miserable life without daylight and its own shit. Like, I just didn't want that. So I think I haven't eaten meat anymore pretty much since 2008, 7, 8, something around then. And
so you said there was a GMO sensitivity, and that's kind of what I guess
triggered everything.
Yeah. Okay. What was that sensitivity? Well,
it's not a sensitivity. It was just that movie. Like, when I got educated about what's going on and how genetic modification really works, and how especially Americans have been taken as guinea pigs since the 90s for a technology that was never really tested long term on people. And it's crazy. It's just economy in the end. It's a huge concern. You have that Monsanto company that just makes all those genetically modified plants and pesticides and just all kind of technology that fucks with deepest nature. And it's hard to like put this all into one little sentence right here, but it's just so much that's going on with it. And I do think that a lot of the current diseases and cancers and all of that is related to genetic modification.
It's
like I can only recommend to watch that movie. It's still so accurate. I mean, it's a 2007 movie, but all that stuff is still going on. I mean, pretty much like 95% of soy in the US is genetically modified. Pretty much all the corn, all the canola oil, all the rice, like potatoes, like so much stuff that's modified by now. And eating that, I mean, they have proven that those modified plants are actually causing the immune system to react on it. And they do recognize, like your body does recognize the different type of plants. Just as they have also proven that in mice, it does create the first stages of cancer cell development. And it's so much evidence, but it's just such powerful companies behind it that they keep creating false science reports, that they keep shutting down, reports that show the opposite, and that they just buy their way into the FDA and just food systems. It's crazy. I mean, the country where I'm from, in Germany, we still ban genetic modified plants, and we've been so far successful to defend that position also towards those big biotech concerns that do want to come in, and they're arguing now with like free markets and all kinds of sketchy ways just to try to pressure their way into our foods too. But I do hope that we can hold up the resistance. But for any American that does not know about GMOs and what it really means and where it's contained in the food, I can only say, please educate yourself, because it's just crazy what's going on, and that's what makes you sick.
I'm right there with you, but I've got to tell you, from my point of view, it's an extremely confusing topic, and maybe it's some of what you said, where the companies have gone back in and put all the disinformation out about the other information, and that's part of the good and bad with the internet nowadays, is that any point you want to take, there's going to be a bunch of supporting evidence out there to back up your point on the internet, and then you put debunked behind it, and then there's a bunch of people saying that it's bullshit. With the GMOs specifically, the biggest thing that I hear, and I'll caveat this with I grew up surrounded by farmers, mostly wheat farms in north central Montana. And now you go back home and there's a Monsanto sign on a stake post every mile or so in front of each different wheat field telling you which patented grain it is from them. So they're all GMO. They're all, I don't know if any of them even have their old original seed. Yeah. But it's very confusing. The argument that I continue to hear is, well, we need to do this. We need to make this process more efficient in order to feed the amount of people. And they never say the amount of animals that we're putting the food into.
Sorry, I'm interrupting, but I'm like, this just makes me furious to hear those myths again. Like there is one of the great, like, I mean, like you said, you can find both sides of the argument, sure. And there's a lot of people that work for the biotech concerns, for Monsanto, that are putting out their opinions, that are buying scientists, that are, but the argument that you need this to feed the people is such bullshit, because, I mean, they create those pesticide plants that pretty much cause cancer in people and animals. But the thing is that they are, first, like all this pesticide stuff, that technology does work, and they are resistant against the pests and whatever problems, but there has already been evidence that just causes super pests to come, that just causes like little insects to become resistant against it. Then they need even more pesticides. In the end, it's just more and more poison to fight for something that's going to get overwhelmed by nature again and again, and it causes more poison. Like, it's complete nonsense. Plus, we're already, I'm sure you know this, with the grains we're creating, with the food we're creating, if just the entire world would slow down on their meat habits a tiny bit, we would have zero problems feeding everyone. If it just is that simple math calculation. I mean, there's a lot more to it, such as countries, continents, nature, like whether it's like droughts, whether it's economical problems, like there's way more. But if you just do the math of the grains we have, the people we want to feed, I don't exactly know the numbers, but there was something how many pounds it takes, of how many pounds of grains it takes to create 1 pound of meat. And it was some outrageous, like 8 or 10 times. I don't even remember.
It's a bad math problem, and that's what brought me to it. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm totally with you. I'm totally plant-based as well. And that's what brought me to it, is that I was in a big Albert Einstein discovery phase, and he went vegetarian later in life solely based off of the math behind it. He looked at the growth of the population and kind of the projection for human population, and he looked at the food infrastructure and the land to produce the food, and he said it'll be imperative for the survival of the human race that they leave off the eating of animals. And it was just math. I mean, I'm sure that for me anyways, as time went on with my decision to be vegetarian, you become more compassionate towards animals, and a lot of other things occur, awareness of GMOs and what have you. But you're absolutely right. It's just math. And not only the grains, like you say, but water. What's the big problem in California right now? Water. Yeah. What takes all the water? The animal agriculture industry. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's the truth. Oh, you leave your shower off. Don't water the lawn. That is a pittance. Leave your fucking shower on. Water all the lawns and golf courses you want all day long. Don't spend thousands of gallons for 1 pound of beef.
Yep. Fully agree. Plus, like, I mean, there is so much more. Like, just this whole food topic is something that we could probably talk about for 3 hours or so. But there's just, it's from all directions. If you look at it, it's just making sense to at least slow down on it a little bit. And as I said before as well, if you just educate yourself a little bit how any type of animal products are produced these days. I mean, even organic ones, they're a lot better, but it's still a business, and they still want to somehow make money. And you still, I mean, want it to be efficient in some way. And if there is a law that says, I don't exactly know the laws, but let's say an organic indoor, I don't know, like a pig in the indoors for organic farming has to at least have, 8 square feet, then you can be sure that most pigs probably don't have more than 8 square feet, because that's how they can be an efficient farm. At least that's how I see it. So
it's a business, and they are pieces of they're parts in the machine, right? They're wheels in the cog. They're not.
It's
not
still,
animals.
as long as there's people trying to make money out of animals, you can be sure that it's not all that great for the animals. And then in the long run, like personally, as somebody who's been hurt a lot, who's been broken off many times, who's had to fight to get a leg back to being able to walk or to even snowboard, like I've realized that even without consuming any meat, without consuming any dairy, I still am way strong enough. I heal fast. I can do everything I want. So that argument, like, or you don't say in English argument, but that point that people sometimes bring up with, I go to the gym a lot, I need my protein. Yeah, come on, it's people are going crazy. It's a lot of like food myths out there that people go completely psycho about. But just as somebody who's been crazy active in sports for many, many years, and a lot of it without meat and without dairy, it's at least for me, it's totally possible, and I don't need it. So if I don't need it and I don't support it, why would I do it? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and most people do, just to that point, because that's the way it's always been done.
See, that's how it is at home too.
That's what was handed down to you. This is what I know.
Yeah, see, that's what it was at home too. Like I said, I come from sausage paradise, and to go back and be like, yeah, no, I don't really eat any Munich white sausages anymore. Like, oh, okay, why? And then sometimes you explain, sometimes they understand, sometimes they just don't want to hear it. I mean, I'm not generally trying to change anyone. I guess everyone has their own right of choice to do what they want, but if you're just a little bit educated, I think it all comes by itself.
Besides the GMO video, what other direction would you point someone that did have some level of curiosity about a plant-based lifestyle?
Well, I mean, there's tons of videos on the internet. If you want to go extreme and you want to look at PETA videos, or, I mean, there is a lot. Or if you want to read books, if you just Google something, like caged chickens or just any type of animal food, like there's all those movies, what was it all, like Food Inc. and this and that, like there's a ton of movies about those type of things. If you just are open to inform yourself, you will find a lot of information. But yeah, personally, like my start was definitely that GMO video, and then from there it it goes step by step. I don't even have, like, for the meat situation, I don't even have one specifically. It just all came in one thought process.
And you kind of touched on this a little bit, okay, if I can live without it and perform as an elite athlete without all of this stuff, then why would I take it? Do you feel that it has improved your athletic performance, recovery time, or anything like that?
I don't really know, because I've been living like this for so many years now that I don't really remember anymore how it was before. But one thing that I can say is that I did personally, just for myself, because I was curious, I did the ultimate test in 2009 when I blew out my knee as horribly bad as I had ever done it, like ACL, both meniscus, and they stitched the meniscus together. In the end, I was on crutches, non-weight bearing, for almost 2 months, and my entire leg was gone. I had the skinniest little model leg that I never thought I could have. And when I was about to start walking again, I knew it would be a long run to get that muscle back. But that's when I told myself that this is the best test I could ever do for the type of diet that I'm on. I'm just going to eat the way I eat. Like back then I was actually really on a strict vegan diet. I mean, now I do eat eggs. But I thought I'll just test this out. I mean, I have 0 leg muscles right now, and I'm just gonna go this way, and I'll see if I get my muscle back. And I actually did. I got everything back. I got just as strong as I was before within a couple of months, and I had no problem. And when I did that, I realized that I just really built, I don't know how much, but probably solid 2-3 pounds of leg muscles, maybe even more, onto that leg based of nothing but plants. And if you can do that, if you can get a full thigh back eating only plants, I'm sure you can generally stay in good shape.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you told that story, because I look back to where I was 6 years ago before I had a clue that someone could even live on a vegetarian or vegan diet, never mind thrive on one. I would have I had this conception that, a vegetarian or vegans were all weak with sunken in eyes, and now they're top athletes. I mean, you've got Danzig was a huge MMA guy. I don't think he's competing anymore, but he's big. There's guys in the WWE, wrestlers. There's Rich Roll, ultra endurance athlete, one of the only guys to do 5 what do they call them, Ironman distance triathlons on 5 Hawaiian islands in 5 days, all on a plant-based diet.
That's insane. I didn't even know that exists.
Oh yeah. I mean, they made it up. They made it up. They said, wouldn't it be cool if you could do this? And it's just a brutal test of really your mental strength. I mean, you have to have a certain level of physical strength, I'm sure, but it's at a certain point, it's just pushing forward for the sake of doing it once your body's already quit.
That's insane. That's just crazy. That's a whole different level. I don't think in this context, I feel no bad how I was kind of proud of my little Denver airport swimming, but that's just a whole different level of crazy physical achievement. Wow.
You should still be proud of that. I don't think, I just have never connected with the pool, even when I was a lifeguard and worked in the pool and taught lessons and everything. You couldn't get me to go swim laps for anything.
You just have to make it exciting. Like, here's one more little thing, especially from a snowboarder's perspective, why swimming laps is pretty awesome. You have to start enjoying your turns. So as I said before, I do flip turns. Like, I don't do those swim to the wall with both hands and start, but like you flip around and hit the wall with your feet. And those, generally, I think swimmers, they have a good side and they always do it in one direction. But sometime I realized, hey, wait a sec, like, can I actually do this the other direction?
Switch.
So I do them both ways. And actually, if you think about it, it's a really flippy back 5 or a switch back 5. But then instead of flipping it, you can cork it. So I started, instead of flipping, corking my turns. And then I started, like, this lifeguard guy told me old school backstrokes turns, which are basically a backflip with a 180. And I started corking my backflip turns, like backstrokes turns. And you can actually, even if you feel super funny, you can like spin more. Like, you can make it like to a 5 or a 7 or even a 9, or you can do 2 flips. You can do like double flip turns. It's just something to play with from a snowboarder's perspective that makes it so much more exciting, because you're basically doing a trick every time you turn, and in between you do some swimming. And if you make that exciting by adding sprints and different techniques, and it can be really enjoyable.
It totally makes sense now, and it makes sense why I don't enjoy it, because my vision was so bad as a kid, and I've recently had LASIK, but I couldn't.
Oh, me too. I had it when I was 18. It was the best day of my life, pretty much, in eye terms.
Mine's still off just a little bit, but it's better. It's good enough. But I couldn't swim and see the wall or the marker on the ceiling or anything like that very well. So I learned to turn very early on, and I would hit maybe 1 out of 4. I would turn too early. I would turn too late. I would hit my head. So I never really learned it well, and I just always I was never competitive at swimming, so I would always just touch the wall and turn around. So I was missing this whole awesome aspect of it that is super fun, and you can basically do tricks I didn't even know.
I don't think anyone else knows. Honestly, we have a lifeguard here in Breck who's actually been in Olympic swimming trials before, and he knows everything. Like, he's the one that introduced me to those like backstrokes turns. And like, I asked him sometime when I'd been playing around, I was like, hey, can you do flip turns in both directions? And he just looked at me and he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, don't you realize, like, you always do it one way, and like, can you do it to the other side? And he's like, I don't know, I have to try. I've never thought about this. I was like, I don't think in swimming they really worry about it much to do that both ways, because I mean, if you're fast in one direction, why? It's just not a artistic sport like snowboarding where it comes down to variety and style. But just personally as a snowboarder, that's one of those things that has made swimming so much more exciting for me.
That's cool. Now I probably would have to get some sort of coach or something. It's been so long, and I'm so old now that it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But I'm excited to get back into the pool and at least try it now.
Yeah, but hey, you can also just try yourself, because in the end you just do any type of flippy thing and to hit the wall with your feet and keep going, and you're right. Like that's the freestyle part of swimming. You know, like make it your own turn, make it your own style. You can't do wrong. You know, the guy that gives you a lesson, he's probably going to teach you just one side exactly flip turn like this, how it's the most time efficient. But you're a snowboarder in the pool, and you're not doing this for time. You're doing this to do something that makes you feel sweet. So just go in the pool and experiment, and something will feel good.
I'm psyched. You've saved swimming in a pool for me. Thank you so much.
Well, tell me in a year if you actually went swimming at all.
I will. It's good training for surfing, right?
Oh, it's great training. And you need goggles. That's super important. Like anyone that swims without swimming goggles, I completely understand why it sucks.
Huh.
Like don't have false pride to, you know, be like, I don't need that. That's nerdy. That's gay. Like, no, swimming goggles are a life changer, and without swimming goggles, swimming is not enjoyable.
Yeah, I was probably doing that wrong too. I don't remember if I had goggles or not. I probably not with my vision troubles.
Well, I don't know how you would do a successful flip turn or any, like you need to see what's going on. I mean, yeah, like if you haven't had goggles and you couldn't see anything, like I completely get it why swimming sucked.
So what's going on this winter? You just landed back in Colorado. Are you filming for something? What are your goals? I know that you're coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah, I am, but already this summer in Australia things went pretty well, so I think I'm officially cured and healed. So I just got back to Breck, and actually today it's been dumping so much that I have very big hopes that we'll have good jumps soon, and I'll just be riding here a bunch and hopefully do the tour in December. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm in it. I had a spot last year, but unfortunately tore my Achilles right before, so I couldn't do it. And now it's a little tricky to get back in, but I hope I get in. And then go to Europe in January for World Champs in Austria, European Open, US Open back in the US. Like just, you know, the usual big events, and in between ride as much as I can, probably mostly in Breck, just because that's my favorite place, and film with friends, make little, you know, Instagram videos, that kind of stuff. I don't have any real proper filming project. It's a little tricky with girls these days. But, you know, in the end, I just want to make the best winter out of it that I could have, because that was my plan for the last one, and then I disqualified myself with that Achilles tear already in the 1st of December. So I'm just wanting to catch up this year for what I missed last year.
Where is the qualifier for the US Open this year? In the past, it's been at Seven Springs for the past couple of years, and that's like my second local mountain.
Yeah, see, I don't know that yet how it is. The last time that I did US Open before my Achilles injury year, I was invited, so I didn't have to do the qualifier. I'm not really sure how that's going to work this year. I mean, if they do it based of ranking, or I have no clue. I think right now I'm like 18th in the points list, so I don't know if I get in with that, or I'll just worry about it when it's time.
Yeah, play it by ear for sure. And for me, it was disappointing that it wasn't going to be at Seven Springs, because here I live in southern Pennsylvania, and that's like the one thing locally that's a major event that we have to look forward to. We would always, you know, take off a couple days before, a couple days after. In the past, I would go up and party too hard and pass out next to the half pipe while I was trying to spectate. There's some embarrassing pictures of me on Facebook just snuggled up in like a big puffy jacket, and here everyone else is watching the contest and I'm just passed out.
I've been to Seven Springs a little while ago, like quite a few. I think it might have been like 2009 that Christy Leskinen was doing an event called Homecoming that was all girls skiing and snowboarding.
Oh, wow.
Were you there back then? Because that was That was wild. Like, we still referred to it as spring break because it was just the craziest partying you've ever seen, but then also pretty good snowboarding. It was fun.
Yeah,
The pipe was actually surprisingly amazing. I remember that. It was really, really a good pipe.
Yeah, that's why we go there. Is they do the super pipe and they do it right. It's always super consistent. But the partying, that's going way back to those USASA days when I was a kid, basically. Seven Springs was the partying mountain by far. So much so that I've quit drinking because I feel like I've done enough partying for several lifetimes. But I've been to Oktoberfest before, and I've had those.
I was just about to say that because I'm generally not a big drinker. I don't really like strong liquor. I mean, sure, I've had my times like partying crazy, like especially in Germany. That happens rather early in your life. But by now, the one thing I do really enjoy is good beer. Like, really enjoy. I'm actually potentially considering to study beer brewing at a university in Munich once I'm done snowboarding. But I'm trying to keep my beer drinking habit somewhat like low. Not to drink that all the time beer because that's bad. But Oktoberfest, oh my god.
It's so easy there.
Oktoberfest was the exception to drink however much beer I wanted, and it was the best times. Oh, wow.
And it's so good because you can drink as much as you want there, and you're not hungover the next day. You still get drunk, but you don't feel horrible. At least I didn't. I felt great the next day.
Depends how much you drink. I'm sure there are some people that feel absolutely horrible the next day. I felt somewhat okay, but I don't drink more than like 3 mass. But after 3 mass, I'm in Oktoberfest paradise somewhere up there. But
well,
I do just get tired the next day, I'd say that.
I like to say that I went to Germany and all I learned to do was how to order a beer. Ein großes Bier bitte. And then I heard that I've been ordering it wrong, that's not even the right way to say it.
Ein großes Bier, well, that means one big beer, please. But the big beer, it's just called Mass, usually.
That's what I just heard, Mass, yeah.
Eine Mass helles.
So I was saying too much.
Yeah, it's okay. No, you just said it. I mean, it's kind of synonym, but especially at the Oktoberfest, it's just called Mass. It's not a big beer; it's a Mass.
I remember getting drunk enough at the Oktoberfest, and we were in, which tent? I can't remember. The Spaten tent.
Yeah.
But we were with somebody from Citroën. He was a designer for the website. He didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any German. Citroën's a car company. And he was so impressed.
Citroën, the car company.
Yes. He was so impressed that I knew what they were because I was watching rally racing at the time, and they were big into world rally racing. And we had a whole conversation for hours, and it was like charades. But when you have that level of those good Oktoberfest beers flowing through you, the language barrier.
You get fluent in multiple languages you didn't know you speak.
The language barrier is totally gone.
Yeah. No, it's great. Like that's the thing I love about Oktoberfest. It's seriously like a different world. Like you do enter those beer tents, and I mean, sure, most people are quite buzzed or drunk, but they're just in such a happy zone, everybody, and it's so cut off from the rest of the world. You're just in this happy little beer tent world where everybody's friends and you talk even though you can't speak the same language, and you're dancing together on the tables, and it's just a different world. Like at home we like to say that actually the year has 5 seasons. It's winter, spring, summer, fall, and Oktoberfest. And that's really how it is. Like it's just a different world, yeah.
Some of the people there were telling me that they would work just the Oktoberfest, and it's like that's all they would do. They would live it, but they would make almost enough money to live off of for the better part of the rest of the year, and then just go back the following time and work Oktoberfest. You can,
but you're also missing a really great time as a part of the fairy tale puzzle. I mean, you can work there, I guess. Yes, you do get paid very well, and it's worth it, but well, maybe we'll see. If that beer brewing career doesn't hit off once it's time, maybe I'll just be a Oktoberfest waitress. I've been practicing. Actually, I should send you that picture. I have a picture from this summer with the soccer world championships in Germany doing so good. One time a friend, he's like, oh, let's just get beers for the whole table, like every one of us. So I went with a friend to get, I think, like 13 beers or something, mass. And I was like, hey, we have so many. I want to see how many I can actually lift up and carry, because I've been wondering that for a long time. And I was doing 8 pretty good.
Oh my
So
God.
I think with 8 you have a chance to qualify as Oktoberfest waitress. But I know the good ones there, they do like 12.
Really? I think I felt like I was seeing 6 quite a bit.
Like 3 and 3, yeah, but that's easier. I mean, after a time, I'm sure you don't carry that many every time, but I'll send you that. I'll send you that picture. I don't think. No, I did not. I Instagrammed one with my friend and I together because it was just, I don't know, nicer because we had all the 12 or 13 beers together. But if I don't forget, oh yeah, I'll direct Insta you the 8 mass picture because you like direct Instagram. I know that because that's how you approached me for this podcast.
Yeah, which is, by the way, the worst way to communicate ever. I saw your message back this morning, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, I didn't see yours for a while neither, and then it just said, like, oh, like, Nate wants to send you a picture or something. I was like, oh, okay, sure. And I look, and okay, and that's how I figured it out. But it's just that tiny little mailbox square in the top right corner. I mean, how do you really...
And it doesn't really alert you ever, or look, it should almost have like a bubble that pops up there in that right corner or something, or turn red or something. So we'll consult with Instagram and get it fixed.
Yep. But then, the nice thing is it's like that. It's pretty discreet. Like, it's not annoying. That's why I like Instagram a lot, because it's just, I feel it's not as much work and annoying as, for example, Facebook. It's just too much happening there.
Yeah, and they started to push out the ads for Instagram at one point, and I saw one, and then I haven't seen another one. So I think they respect. I think they kind of get it and respect the community there, and see that there was a big pushback when they initially started to talk about ads too. And I think I would be turned off if I started to see more and more ads in the Instagram feed.
Oh, for sure. It's like, no, Facebook. That's actually, it's a funny topic because I always, like, I was a person, I used to refuse to get a smartphone for a long time, and I always said that I will never have Facebook because I prefer real life and I don't want that, just as I didn't want the smartphone, because if you always have internet on you and all that stuff, you always have work, you're always on your phone, you're losing touch with reality. So I didn't have Facebook until 2011. Like, I just got it pretty late when I dislocated my elbow and I got really sad and just needed some kind of distraction. So I made the first Facebook account of my life.
No MySpace before that?
No, never had MySpace. And, well, still rather fresh to all that social media stuff. But it's just, I think it was, in some way, it was exaggerated how I was totally against it for so long. At the same time, holding off for so long, I can still remember that how it was to not have any of it and to not get too crazy and sucked into it and completely lose touch with reality just because of some online stuff.
I was talking about this with my mom, who was just visiting from Montana over the weekend, and my dad was an amateur photographer growing up, so there's pictures of me every second of my life all the way through, 18 years old when I left home, or 17, whenever. And he would miss out because he was so dedicated to taking the photos. And it's great to have it documented. I now hate cameras because of that. Yeah. I try to not get my picture taken because I had my picture taken all my formative years. But you do, if you commit to it to such a huge level that is consuming you, then that's too much. It's almost like a balance.
Yeah, but it creeps up on you. Like I've realized not to, ever, it's not been forever that I've had a proper phone, but probably like 4 years, 3 years, I don't really know. But you do fall into habits of constantly checking everything that's going on. And I do feel there is a big change in our society. If you do look in the bus or wherever in public spaces, so many people are on their phones. Like 5 years ago, it wasn't half as bad. 10 years ago, there was none of it.
I just heard this story about a restaurant in New York who's having trouble with their reviews, and it's that the service is slow. They found some old security footage from 10 or 15 years ago, and the only thing that was different is the time that it took people to order, because they get to the table, check their phones instead of look at the menu.
Yep.
And their time to order has doubled because of this. People are on their phones, they're talking, they're looking at social media and what have you, and it's not a huge restaurant, so they only have so many tables, and the waiters are losing out, and the restaurant's losing out on overall profitability because clients are upset on Yelp is where it originated. They're putting, hey, it takes too long to get our food, but it's taking them too long to order, and then the table doesn't turn over quick enough for the waiters to make the money that they were making 10 years ago.
Crazy.
So that's super far off topic, and I could probably talk to you forever, and I would love to dig in even deeper into some of the vegan, vegetarian stuff. But we're coming up on just over an hour here, and should probably start to wrap it up. What where can people find out more about you? Your Instagram, your Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff.
On all the evil social media that makes your food come slower and makes you lose your real life. So
your genetically modified food, that is.
Oh yeah, your genetically modified food. No, so I am selling my soul on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all of them together, nice and frequently. I mean, that's probably the usual where you can find more if you're curious what I'm doing. And if you want to do webcast interviews, just send me a direct Instagram photo message, and I will maybe see it within the next 5 days. And otherwise, well, for the big events, there's usually live webcasts. There's sometimes something on TV. If you really want to find me for whatever reason, if you want to have a chat, you'll find your ways. I'm a pretty easy to reach person, I think.
I thank you so much. It was an awesome pleasure. It was better than I could have even expected talking with you today. And like I said, you were like number one on my list to talk to. It's just funny how many things.
Being so nice, you make me feel way too good.
Well, it's just funny how many things we have in common. And then I started seeing over the past year like all this river surfing, and I'm like, oh, that's like my next thing. I know that's going to be it. I've got to learn how to river surf. No, I haven't been yet. Just ocean.
Okay. So next time you come to Munich, I will put you on my big board, and I will tell you to smack it into the walls as hard as you can, because it doesn't matter. And I'll show you my most favorite organic German beer, which, by the way, costs only 99 cents for a half-liter bottle. It's so amazing. Always blows my mind how we have such high-level, delicious, amazing organic beer for no money when I come here, and it's like 8 times as expensive.
Or even 10 times if you go to the bar.
This is one more funny little quick thing I have to add, because talking about my favorite organic German awesome beer, I imported 4 bottles of my favorite beer when I came to the US, and 2 of them I put in my boots. So if you ever want to transport beer in glass bottles across the world and you have a snowboard bag, put it in your snowboard boots. That's the best place to put them. The other 2 I wrapped into couple snowboard socks, and put them in a backpack, also my board bag. So my board bag was 4 Bavarian beers heavy.
That's so perfect.
And all 4 made it. None of it broke, and I still have it in my fridge. I'm gonna save those for a special occasion.
Sylvia and I actually kept talking off record for quite some time about river surfing, snowboarding, diet, and GMOs. Looking forward to connecting with Sylvia next time I'm out at Breck and eating some organic fruits and veggies together. Since it's the week of Thanksgiving, I'd like to continue with the gratitude and say thanks again to everyone that subscribed to the podcast in iTunes and left a 5-star written review. The response to the podcast has exceeded my initial goals by a mile. I'd like to go ahead and read some of the reviews and guess who you are based on your iTunes username, and say thanks and share a little story about how we know each other. So here's a 5-star review from Empty Eye. Empty Eye is my friend Jim. It says, about snowboarding without being about snowboarding. Funny, personal, insightful. Great stories from amateurs to professionals behind and deep within the snowboarding industry. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for the 5-star review. Jim and I are friends through Pit Crew initially. Jim and his wife Heather came in many years ago and decided that they were going to start snowboarding. and they bought boards. I don't know if their initial boards were from me or not, but over the years, Jim and Heather grew to be quite close personal friends, and we've gone on multiple snowboarding trips together and even do quite a bit of motorcycle riding together. Great listen, 5 stars, burritos and snow. Snowboarding, for me at least, has always been about my friends. Sometimes sitting around and remembering days on the hill are almost as fun as the days themselves. This podcast is like that. A post-ride session at the bar, or laughing in the car on the way down the mountain. I'm excited to hear more episodes. So Burritos and Snow is actually Daniel Cochran, who runs a blog called burritosandsnow.net. And he's going to be a future podcast guest, and I think I would be able to call him a friend after having recorded that interview with him already. Awesome, 5 stars by Seth Joy. Seth, you're easy to guess who you are because you used your name as the username. Seth and I know each other from skateboarding and snowboarding through Pit Crew for many, many years. Seth escaped. He got out to Crested Butte, so he rides the real mountains. Seth, I'm coming to visit you, and I'm coming to take you up on that offer for a couch at some point this winter. Love this podcast, 5 stars. Wish this podcast was on more than once a week. I've already fallen behind on other podcasts because this is in my rotation now. Keep it up. By Spanglenuts. Spanglenuts has to be my friend Andrew Spangenberg. Andrew, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. But Andrew's son, Caden, is a little hellion, to say the least, and he's got a lot of his father's energy. Andrew just posted a video to Facebook of his son lapping the park on his micro-sized BMX bike and then hitting like a launch ramp in the park over a pyramid and landing with no feet and struggling to ride it out. If I can find that video, I'll add that to the show notes. It's a must watch. The kid's definitely going to be a ripper. Join us next week for my conversation with Big Sky local Chris Mountjoy. Last time I rode with Chris, he said one of the most insightful things that I still think about almost every day. We also cover his path from Washington, D.C. area skate rat to snowboard company owner, and we discuss his current battle with lung cancer. Until then, as my dad would say, let me know what you're thankful for. Really though, I want to hear from you. Shoot me an email at nate@shredsouls.com.
Thank you for listening to the Not Snowboarding podcast. To hear more episodes, go to www.notsnowboardingpodcast.com.